Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the ACSI Discussion Forum. We are very privileged to have a guest speaker today. Our guest speaker today is Christo Spies. He is a former Springbok athlete who has received the State President's Award for Sporting Achievements. Christo has worked with many South African top sportsmen and women, and he's been involved with most of the Free State teams in all sporting disciplines, from the Cheetah Rugby to the Free State Knights Cricket to the netball and hockey teams. His clients include professional golfers, Olympians, international athletes in various sporting disciplines. He's also worked with the Natal Dolphins Cricket, the Zimbabwean cricket team, the Marty's Varsity Cup rugby team as a mental performance coach. He currently resides in the Western Cape and is the CEO of SCAS, the Sports for Christ Action South Africa in Stellenbosch. Since joining SCAS in 2017, he has focused on equipping coaches worldwide using the 3D Institute's 3D course for certification. He has a passion for the country's people and works with many South African companies and schools as a mental toughness specialist and help them deal with obstacles and instilling hope. So, Christo, we are very excited to have you here. And I'm sure that you are going to, I'm not the world's biggest athlete, but I can definitely do with some mental toughness training. I think even our everyday jobs, the Bible says, is like a marathon that we need to run. So I welcome you. And as we spoke beforehand, we're excited to go into a partnership between ACSI and SCAS. And just before I give you the microphone, I would just like to pray for you.
Thank you.
Father God, thank you that we can be here today. Lord, thank you that you are with us. Father, I would just like to bring Christo to you as he is speaking, and Father, just the passion that you have instilled in his heart. Lord, I pray for his tongue, for his mouth, for his thoughts. And Father, may his passion just really flow over from his cup, and may he really be a blessing and use his gifts for the children of South Africa and so many people that can learn from him. Father, thank you that you are present in this meeting. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. It's a privilege being here. And first of all, I just want to commend you as teachers. I used to be an accounting teacher, and then I got to know the Lord. Not that it's a sequence, but yeah, so I've got a real soft spot for teachers and for the teaching profession, and I know how tough it is today. It's a lot tougher than those years that I taught. And you plant seeds nowadays that you don't always see the fruit of, and you form people in a way that no one else can form them. And the 3D course that I'll say something about later on talks about two of the most important words in the English language, and that is coach says. And it's like teacher says. If teacher says it or coach says it, that's the law. It doesn't matter what the parents say. So the influence is huge. And like I said, you don't realize what influence you have. And then, so just two examples. Hansie Cronje that I play, knew very well, the late Hansie Cronje that passed away. He was the South African cricket captain. When he played his first test at Lord's in London, who did he invite? His high school cricket coach, Johan Forster. So when John Smith got the international award for Rugby Player of the Year in London, who did he invite? His high school cricket coach from Pretoria Boys High. So, sometimes all the players that I worked with, the professional players, there's a coach at school that made the difference. And you guys have that opportunity at the moment with everyone you work with. Now, just shortly, my story. I grew up without a father, and that plays a big role now, because if we sit with a fatherless generation, sometimes the fathers are present, but they're not. And but we sit with households where mothers or grandmas run the household, and young boys especially don't know how to be men. And so we have a special thing that we do with that, but I'll maybe get to that a little later. But so I grew up without a father, and one of my coaches was so instrumental, because he was the only male father figure I knew. And at school, I thought that was the only thing I could do, is sport. And then I went to study. I quit studies because I just wanted to do sport. But then I started working underground in a mine, and I was in a serious motorbike accident. And in that accident, I lost my leg. So my leg got amputated, and suddenly my whole life changed. And I had to, and that was something my mind, all I thought I could do was sport. I believed I couldn't study. I wasn't clever. And suddenly my life was shattered. And there I had my first experience with the Lord. I didn't accept the Lord, but I had this visitation almost from the Lord, where I experienced the peace of God that is above all understanding. I didn't know what it was at that stage, but yeah, it's a longer story. Maybe I can share it some other time, but I experienced that piece of that's above all understanding. And then I got into sport again. I started studying, which I thought I couldn't do. And that was a mental shift, first of all, that to change the mindset that I need to study. I won't be a professional athlete anymore. But I started playing again. And then as I started playing, I saw the effect my leg had on my opponents. If I played tennis or squash, the guys adapted their game according to my leg. And I realized it's a mental thing. And I started exploring more and more mental stuff, and I could do stuff that others couldn't because of the mental aspect. And I started coaching, and in the coaching, yeah, I became a teacher. I got to know the Lord at that stage, and I went into other things. But then a couple of years later on, one of the guys that I coached was a guy called Boeta Dippenaar. He's this Protea cricket player at that stage. And that my influence as a cricket coach made him call me and said he's got a spiritual problem, because he was just left out of the Protea side. It was the first quotas at that stage, and he was left out of the side. And he said it's a spiritual problem, because he was left out of the side, and some of the other guys that are not Christians, they are still in the side. And I listened to him, and I realized it was a mental problem. It wasn't a spiritual problem. And I suggested that we do an exercise that I used when I played sport. And when we did it, the next day he made 100. That evening, Corey van Zyl, the coach, Free State coach, I still played with him, and he phoned me and said, "What did you do with Boeta?" And that way I started with the Free State Knights cricket team. That spilled over to the Great College first rugby team, and then to the Cheetahs, and so forth. So I wasn't trained as a mental performance coach. I don't even have Psychology 1. But the Lord opened doors to me and revealed to me ways of just the lessons I learned by losing my leg. And I started reading up, and that's where I got to sort of form a system of mental coaching, mental toughness, or whatever. So I call it a system, and I don't claim that it's my thoughts only. It's the sort of a combination of everything that I read and learned from athletes and these teams that I worked with. But I use a formula that came from a guy called Tim Galway. He wrote the book The Inner Game of Tennis, and later on The Inner Game of Golf, and so on. And it says your performance equals your potential minus interference. And I realized that was the story of my life, because everyone is so focused on performance, but performance is where the stress is, isn't it? Performance is where it gets your mind running all over. I'm not going to win, whatever it is. So it's on performance where most coaches focus, because it's about the win. But then the other part, the other side of the equal sign is your potential. And potential is an interesting thing, because if you play to you, or if you talk about your potential, there's no stress. It's just like, come on, bring it on, man. I can do this. You love doing it. It's stuff that energizes you. But then there's always also the interference or obstacles. And so you have your potential, and you guys as coaches will know, parents come up to say, or you will see people in the team say, he's got so much potential, but he doesn't live up to it. And what's the reason? Because of the obstacles or the interference. So any obstacle or interference interferes with your potential, and that's reflected in your performance. So when I work with teams, we don't focus on performance. We don't talk about win. And it sounds weird if you don't know the system. How can you not talk about win? Everyone wants to win. So we go to the other side of the formula and say, let's look at your let's look at your potential. What do you want to do, etc. And I'll explain that now. And then, first of all, look at your potential, what you've got, how can you use it, and then what are the obstacles or interference, and how do you deal with it? So, so that's the two areas. And once you do that, then the moment you deal with or you live up to your potential, and you deal with the interferences, the performance will look after itself. So it's a lot easier dealing with that that way. But now the question is, how do you do it? It's those theory things that we throw out there for everyone, but then how do you do it? What's the practical part of it? And for me, when I sat down and started thinking, what made the difference? Why do some people go through trauma like I did with my accident, but come back and with the help of the Lord, I'm not saying by themselves, achieve something or carry on with life, where others sit down and they don't feel like carrying on. And I realized the difference is hope. And hope is such an interesting word, because we tend to make hope a wish. I hope I get this in the exam, and I hope this girl or boy likes me, or I hope I don't have this child in my class, or whatever. And that's wishful thinking. That's not hope. Hope is the sure in the Bible, the way the Bible talks about hope. And Romans 16 says, God is the giver of hope. God is so hope is seated in God, and that's a certainty that we move towards. That is the hope. And when I realized that's what made me go on, I had hope then I read a quote by John Maxwell, and he said, hope in the future gives you power in the present. And I realized that moment, that's all I have to do with teams, with athletes, etc., is to help them to instill hope in the future. And you will know if there's hope, a team has hope for the future, or an athlete, or even a learner to do well in exams. They just learn, they just practice. It's like fun. But if there's no hope, then it's like, why must we do this? Why must we? They start complaining. There's no hope. So, and the adults in our country steal our youth hope, even teachers, unfortunately. And we need to instill that hope for yourself and for the people around you, because the moment you instill hope to the future, you do things in the present on a different level. And that's all I have to do. Now, again, how do you do that? Now, at that stage, as I was reading, I discovered a study by Kansas University. A guy called Rick Snyder did a PhD, and he said, what is the greatest predictor of success in the face of interference? And he found through his research that he called it, or I reduced it to hope. He had this whole thing about it, but it boils down to hope. And he says there's two legs or two aspects to hope. And the first one, what he called goal orientation, and the second one, mental toughness. And I sort of changed it around. And so, and it's like H2O for water. There's the two elements that form hope, water. You got the two elements that forms hope. And that is, first, you need to know what you want. And secondly, it's mental toughness. And unfortunately, if people struggle mentally, especially in teams and stuff, they want to deal with mental issues. But most of the time, it's like putting a plaster over something. It's not solving or it's a short-term solve for something. So the first step of to instill hope is to help people to know what they want. And I'll just explain that very shortly. And maybe in the future we can do a bit more on this, because this is what I spend a couple of weeks with before when we do teams. So first of all, you need to know what you want, and then when you know what you want, then we deal with the mental toughness. Then we have tools to be mentally tough, and I'll spend a bit of time on that as well. So if you say, what do you want? First of all, if you don't know what you want, someone else will decide for you. If a team doesn't know what they want, the opposition will decide for you. So it's very basic. If I ask you, let's say we were in a setting where we were all together, and I ask you, would you like to drink something? And you say yes. And I say, okay, what would you like to drink? And you say, oh, anything. Then I can pour you some vinegar. And you'll taste it and you'll go, you crazy, man. How can you give me vinegar? But you left the choice to me. You understand? So if you leave the choice to someone, they can give you everything and you will complain about it. But if you decide for yourself, you can think, what's good for me? What would I like now? And you say, I would like a Coke. And then if I give you a Coke, how cool will it be? But if I don't have Coke and I say, no, I don't have, then you can think for yourself. And that's part of the mental toughness, to think for yourself. You say, okay, what's available? Or so you need to know what you want. The other thing is, the moment you know what you want, you activate something in your brain called the RAS, reticular activating system. It's a part that you use forever, every day, thousands of times. It's that system. Those of you with cars, just think when you got a new car, suddenly you see that car everywhere. There's one, there's one, there's one. They were there before, but what happened? You activated that system. You saw the white Toyota, and suddenly you see the white Toyotas everywhere. So you almost eliminate the other stuff, but it comes there. Now, that's what happens when you know what you want. So, and the important thing of knowing what you want is not what you don't want. So, and that's a big part to help people to get what they want. So let's do a test. Let's do a test quickly. Are you guys ready for a test? Okay. You just have to do what I say. Okay. Do not think of an elephant now. What are you thinking of? Probably the elephant, right? So just thinking in the games, if you say, don't drop the ball now, where's your mind running to? Dropping the ball. So what happens psychologically is, if you say, don't drop the ball, and I know the cricket guys, catches win matches, guys, you can't drop the ball. Then what happens? It's a picture of dropping the ball. And what happens? Your eyes drop, your hands drop a little, and then you drop the ball. You say, I always do that in the game. But so what's the first step of hope? What do I want? Not what I don't want. What do I want? So if you don't want to drop the ball, what do you want? I want to catch the ball. Different picture, different mindset, different approach. So just to help them there, and even in the exams, I know the moms on the call, that you guys are quite guilty of this, to say, what do we tell the kids before the exams? Don't stress, my baby. Don't be nervous. And where do you take their minds? Exactly to what you don't want. So where do you want their minds? You want them to take it to what you want. So what's a better, if you don't want to stress, what's better to say? Be calm. I want to be calm. I want to be focused. It's a different picture and a different approach. And I've got exercises to prove that. So, and if you don't want to miss the ball, what do I want? I want to catch the ball. If you don't want to miss the tackle, what do you want? I want to make the tackle. I want to tackle low. Instead of telling them, don't tackle high, what do you want? I want you to tackle low. Just a change in words. And that's a biblical principle, isn't it? You speak life or not death. What do you tell? If you keep on telling them what's wrong, what they shouldn't do, that's speaking death. And if you tell them what to do and the right pictures, that's speaking life, right? So the first one is to know what they want. And for that, you need to know what you want. What do you want from the team? What do you want from your class? I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to be late. Convert that to what you want. And the second thing is to break it down to processes, not just the outcome. The outcome is the win. If I ask the team, what do you want? They all say, I want to win. You don't control the win. You influence it by the way you play, but you can be at your best and still lose. But if win is your only goal, then you're stuffed. Because then it's like, oh, we did our best, but we didn't win. So they give up. But what is your best? You never know. So you need to break it down, and we break it down from outcome to game plan or process goals, and then to performance goals, and then to process, because the process is where you control everything. If the process of how many times you bounce the ball before you serve, how the kicker before you take a goal kick or a penalty or anything, what you do before you kick the ball, that is 100% in your control. And if you can get your mind there, you control it. But you don't control eventually where the ball ends up. So, and that's part of the mental toughness part. So the first part is to help them to know what they want. And there's a whole system of doing that, right? And then the second part of hope is, once you know where you want to go, maybe just take a step back to make the link between what you want and the mental toughness. If I say I want to go somewhere, right? It's easy. I start walking there. But what if there's something in your way? The moment you bump into something, where does your mind go? To whatever's in your way. It can be a person, it can be anything, but the biggest mental obstacle is in your mind, your thoughts about what's in your way, right? So, and if you're not mentally tough, even if you know what you want and know where you're going, if you're not mentally tough, you will spend time on the, and your mind will go to whatever's in your way. But if you are mentally tough, the first question you ask yourself, do I still want to go there? What do I still want? If it's worthwhile going there, if it's worthwhile doing that, then you will just take a step back and say, okay, how do I still get there? And then you will find ways of saying, I can go under this, I can get over this. You will find ways of getting past the obstacle to what you want. That's why it's important that you know what you want. But the second part is that dealing with the obstacles or interference. And that's where the mental toughness comes in. Now, mental toughness is very basic, actually. It's just, what do you think about when that obstacle comes across your way? What's that when someone gives you a hard time, when that guy drives in front of you or whatever? Where's your mind going? That is the mental toughness. Now, there's 3 time frames that we can comprehend, and that's the past, the present, and the future, right? And where do we live? Only in the present. And you can only be here. And I know you girls think you can multitask, but you can only be at one place at a time. And the thing is, if you're and that's the key to mental toughness, to be where you are. So if you're on this call, is to be here. Don't be thinking of this of stuff that happened this morning, or don't think what you are still going to do or whatever. Because the moment you think you are here, that's where you are. Try to get something from this talk. But when are kids not concentrating in class, or when are you not, or miss out what the preacher is saying in a service? It's when your mind runs to something that happened in the morning, when you're in the past, then you're not present. You can only be present here. So, and I always see that when I do a live talk and people laugh about something, then there's always the guy that says, what did he say? What did he say? They're there, but they miss out on that. And that's what happens in class. The kids are thinking about something that happened before, or they're thinking about something that happened, that's going to happen in the future. You can sit here and suddenly remember something that you have to do this afternoon, and you make a note and think, okay, I must still do that. But then you miss out on what I said in that couple of seconds. So the key to mental toughness is to be in the present and to learn from the past, to plan for the future, but to be in the present. And that's the key in the game. You need to be at that particular scrum, at that particular serve, at that particular line out. You need to be 100% present. If a piece of your mind is still running to the kick before, or that if I kick this over, we're going to win, then you're not 100% present. You can't be a part there and a part there. That's when people mess up their pre-shot routines or stuff, and they mess up something, they go off the game plan because they're not 100% present. And a big part of the mental game that we do is to be present. And when you're present, you need, first of all, you need to know what you want. Because you don't know what you want, the game plan, then you can't execute it. So you see how it starts interacting. You need to know what you want and then get to the present. And the wonderful thing about the mental toughness is that the past is never equal to the present. Because if you're in the present, you don't care if you lost 4 times in a row. It doesn't mean you're going to lose the 5th time. It's a new opportunity. Or if you won 4 times in a row, it's not that you be complacent and think, okay, we automatically have that. We have to, it's like, it's a new opportunity. We're going to do this, right? So you need to be in the present. So that's the 2 parts of instilling hope. And it's, first of all, know what you want. Secondly, become mentally tough. Now, we have lots of tools, and that's what I use with workshops with schools, etc., to help them with those tools to be in the present so that you can instill hope, right? So the first step of instilling hope is, and you can do it with your own children, etc., get them to know what they want. And then the second one is get them in the present so that they can deal with the obstacles. So that's the 2. Now, so that's the basic part of the mental toughness part. But part of what I found with pro athletes is, and especially the teams that I work with, it's all about them. It's all about the win, and you can understand because it's their careers, it's their income, and it's about win. And they keep it for themselves. They don't share it. In my heart, coming from a teaching background, I wanted to share this. I wanted to share more. And that's how I ended up with SCAS. And SCAS is the Sport for Christ Action for Africa. It comes from the direct translation for Sport for Christus Actie South Africa. So the English version is not so clear for what it stands for. But it's SCAS is basically an organization. We're a non-profit. We've been established in 1985 already by Cassie Carstens, who also runs now The World Needs a Father, which is for the fatherless generation. And basically, we are people, a non-profit that loves God. We love sport and we love people. And we serve in sport. Our logo is serving in sport. And if you go on our website, you'll see serving in sport. So I started thinking, you know, why do kids play? If you think of kids on the playground during breaks or before school, after school, if they just play, there's a love that you won't see. There's a joy. You have to call them in. They just play. And there's not less of a drive to win. But what happens then? Why do they lose the joy when they start playing formal stuff? And that started ticking me. And so at SCAS, or maybe I must just say about SCAS, what we do. That got me thinking about SCAS, and then the Lord called me to SCAS in a special way, and I quit the mental coaching, and I started 5 years ago. I started at SCAS, so I've quit the teams, I've quit everything to start working with coaches, because I wanted to see a bigger influence and getting to people's hearts. Now, first of all, SCAS, we serve at big tournaments. That's one of the things we do. Like now at the start of July, we go to the Craven Week. We have a long relationship with SARU, the the rugby union. So we place what we call chaperones with each team at the tournament. So we get volunteers from all over. We train them for 2-3 days. We train them how to serve a team unconditionally, and they live with the team, they eat with the team, so they bond with the team and they show them love. But then they have the opportunity to do Bible study with the teams. We use a band. I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you'll see this now on the screen. We use this to share the gospel. These emojis. We use armbands, etc. We print it on balls. That's the whole gospel. We share these, and we do Bible study with the teams. And every year there's people, there's some of these provincial athletes that turn to the Lord. We are present at other rugby tournaments like Kersney College as well. They use us every year for the Easter festival, where we give chaperones. So if you have big tournaments, our chaperones are all screened as Christians. They're placed with the team. They serve the team. Cravenweed guys say, even though there's non-Christians organizing it, they don't want to do it without us, because our teams play such a major role in helping, assisting with everything, seeing that the teams are on time. But then they serve and they do the Bible study with the team. So it's really awesome. We also host people at the moment. We have a group at our campsite in Stellenbosch. There's 13 American students and 4 a guy from Kenya, Benin, Ghana, and we train them in sport ministry. So they're there for a whole month, and they come for sport ministry training. When they leave, in July, August, and September, we have the ISLS, the International Sport Leadership School. They come to our campsite, and they have a 3-month training in sport ministry. And that's run by the international sport movement. At this stage, there's 32 people from 28 countries coming, and they select one from each country, and we host it. But this one, for the month, we present everything. So I'm running around 24/7 now. But these guys are amazing, and they go back to their countries and they do sport ministry. So that's part of what SCAS do. We also run we run huddles, what we call SCAS huddles, with Bible study with coaches. So we supply all the resources. We have amazing resources from the sport movement, the global sport movement, that we make available for free. We have a partnership with FCA. That's the thing I'm wearing, a fellowship for Christian athletes in the US, and we have amazing resources from them as well. The 13 American students that are here at the moment are from FCA in America. And so we can really assist you in many ways for coaches, etc., with Bible study material that's specifically written for coaches. We have coaches' Bibles available from FCA with pieces for coaches, especially for coaches. So it's a lot focused on coaches. But then through FCA, we are doing the 3D course, and that's a big part of what I do now at SCAS. I'm the leader of SCAS, but I'm especially from July, I'll be focusing on the 3D. Now the 3D, it's not 3D like an animation. It's the 3 dimensions, and it's actually biblical principles, all of it. So it's the 3-dimensional body, mind, and spirit. So the first dimension is the body. It's what normal coaches do. The second dimension is what I did with teams, and that's the mental part, the head. And then the third dimension is the heart, the spirit part. And so the 3D journey is amazing, and I'll just share some of that with you, just the basic principles. But since the start of COVID, we've taken 845 coaches in South Africa through that, from primary school coaches to provincial coaches, to the top school coaches, Paul, Jim, the rugby coaches, Great College in Bloemfontein, office in Pretoria. They send all their rugby coaches through that. Kuro School sent their executive headmasters through this. The Springboks assistant coaches through this. Some of the Blue Bull coaches. So it's really a special something. And it comes from the US. It's an internet-based course, but we facilitate it in South Africa through SCAS. So everything runs through SCAS in South Africa. Even if people from that doesn't work through us go to the 3D, they send it back to me. And the 3D journey is just, I'll explain a little about that, but the research shows that you learn how to motivate athletes from within. You know how to build character. It's like The people that's done 3D will produce athletes that learn skills quicker, they work harder, they recover from injury faster, they play at a higher level. And they always say sport creates character or builds character. I don't think that's entirely true. It reveals character. Because why do kids cheat? Why do athletes cheat? We see, I don't know who follows tennis, Helga Rune, who cheated now in his quarterfinal game where it was a double bounce, and he said it wasn't. He wasn't. Why? It reveals character. So we need to build the character so they're in sport, and that's what this 3D does. Now, the first I mentioned, like I said, that's the fundamental. We don't do anything there. That's what coaches do. That's strength, power, quickness, speed, cardiovascular, technique, repetition, tactics, that stuff. And we don't interfere with that. That's sport specific. That's what coaches normally do. Now, understand, you can win tournaments. And I've been with teams that won tournaments without going on the second and third dimension. But there's always the relationship issues, and they treat people as performance tools. They need to win at all costs. They need to play even though they're injured. They don't care about the hearts of the athletes, especially in the pro area. But now we do the second and third dimension. And the second dimension, that's motivation, confidence, emotions, team cohesion, and goal setting. And you can't solve first dimension problems or second dimension problems with first dimension solutions. So we get these coaches that if there's motivation, effort, or emotions in it, that they may, or team cohesion especially, then they make the kids run. And that's the first dimension something. And I heard an athletic coach say the other day, don't use my sport to punish your athletes. The running. So you solve team cohesion in a different way, and that's a mental way, not on a physical way. So the second dimension is different, and then the third dimension is even more important. And research show that less than 10% get to the hearts of the players or teachers to the learners, and that's a level of identity, character, significance, self-worth, values, purpose. And the moment you get to that, the moment you get to the second and third dimension, then you have the whole athlete. Because if you don't have their minds and their hearts, you don't have the full athlete. And if you have their hearts and their minds, they will run through walls for you. But then you will also care for them in a way that you won't damage them. You won't let them play injured and risk of that they get injured so seriously that they won't play again. So, and what this course does is we help people to get a purpose statement, a transformational purpose statement, that you know where I'm going. That's that I know what I want. This is what I want, based on your values on stuff. And that's at the end of the course. It's a certification course that we run. So you get certified with your purpose statement, and then it just helps to be first fundamentally sound, and that's the first level. But then we help coaches to be skilled at coaching the mind, and then focused on developing the heart of the players. And what we do is especially in the facilitation, we get deliberate strategies of how do you do this. It's not just the internet thing, but then we sit with the coaches and we say, what are the deliberate strategies? And we created the whole PDF now with these deliberate strategies to say, this you can use in the classroom, this you can use in the teams to get to the hearts of the players, to get in the minds of the players. And it's amazing how many of these provincial coaches learn from teachers that had deliberate strategies that they use in class to do at with these teams. So yeah, that's sort of the basic part. And I think, if we'll open up for some questions now, but that's sort of basically what we do as SCAS. We serve in sport, but it's a serve. And maybe I must just say, once we do the 3D course, we go on to the next level, and then we've got a 360 coach Bible study that we slot them into. So it's used the same language as the 3D, it's biblical principles, and then we show them where the 3D comes from. So once a person do the 3D course, we go on and we slot them into Bible studies, and that we don't run it. I help them, I give them material, and we have coaches starting huddles in their teams, or maybe at the school, start with other Christian coaches and start a huddle. We supply them with material that they can use, but it's just to get them going, and it's written specifically for coaches. And that's the amazing thing, and because coaches think the same, etc., especially around the biblical principles. So it's really special, and that's where we can be a big part of assisting you guys to start huddles in schools, start huddles with help the learners start huddles amongst them, where it becomes more and more pressure from the government that teachers are not allowed to I'm talking about public schools now, to proclaim Christianity, but then we get the coaches to assist their players, and the players start Bible studies. So there's so many ways around government policies, and that's what we assist with in a big way. So I will send you a pamphlet on the 3D. But if people want to know more, please contact me, and then I will gladly assist you. To do the full course there's a fee, because we have to pay, and the fee you will see on the website for that certification course is $149, which amounts to 3,000 rand about now, and with the exchange rate. But to do it in South Africa for schools, we do they allow us to do it for 850 rand. So it's a once-off fee per coach. But that's what we need to pay over to 3D for that. It's actually 950, but it was for outside coaches, and SCAS subsidizes it with another 100 rand for coaches, because I've got such a soft spot for teachers. So it's 850. There is a free one. If you guys as administrators want to do that, on the website, there's a free course for administrators, which will give you a big insight that you can go on. You can do it. It's an internet course. You register, but then it's like modules, 3-minute video or so with a couple of questions, etc. And you have to complete one before you get to the next one. It's really amazing. So if someone wants to know more, please contact me. I don't know if there's any questions on anything that I did today. I rushed through a lot of stuff now, and yeah, it's already 45 minutes. But so, yeah, any questions, you can just fire away, and then I will send you the pamphlet on that. I will send you some of the resources that we have available or on our website, but they are welcome to start chatting to me, and then we see where we can assist.
Thank you so much, Christo. We really appreciate it. You really have a wealth of knowledge and so much experience speaking to, the sportsmen and women on the field. And you've not only now, you've said that you don't only go inside their bodies and their hearts, minds, but you try and get behind their hearts. And I think it's a wonderful ministry. Just the fact that you've mentioned that you try and get them to the Bible and to Bible studies, which is really something that ACSI, can associate with, and something that we can, proudly promote and support you where best we can. And we will also we'll make sure that SCAS comes onto the ACSI website under extramural about, just so you guys can use them as a service provider. We would possibly put this video on there as a podcast as well. So we will definitely make these resources available to you. Thank you guys, and have a fantastic day. It was so nice. See, we were up to 10 to 12 participants, so it was really great having so many people on our call today. And then we'll see you next time.